Hey guys, Butt here, and today I want to talk about Ghost Dance, in particular this interaction it has with reduced duration. I saw a really cool Reddit thread today where somebody was talking about there's tons of reduced duration on the tree, and with things like fast forward, you actually get to scale this value. I had no idea this value scaled with less duration. I'll include a link to the thread in the show notes, but long story short, PoE 2 sustain is kind of terrible. So getting to actually scale Ghost Dance to make it a usable thing to keep your hit pool big is pretty interesting to me. And so like in PoE 1, this value is every 2 seconds you gain a Ghost Shroud. And it is a nice way to just keep your hit pool full while you're mapping. Now, here, since we can scale this with duration, you can get this value much, much lower than that. Like, for example, if you have a 3 second Ghost Dance, which would be like a level 21 one, and then you have the 64% reduced duration on the tree, which, like here, this cluster is 8. Each of these miners are 8. This is 16, so it's 32. And then over by Warrior, you also have another 8, 8, and then 16. So 64 total. So you end up with a 3 second Ghost Dance, like base, times 0.36. And then if you're using fast forward, you'll multiply it by 0.7. And you end up with like a 0.75 duration ghost, like interval between getting a Ghost Shroud, which is pretty fast. Now, if you want to do something really silly, you could be a Titan and take hulking form, which increase effect of small passes, which means this is 12% instead of 8, 12. So we'll pick up an additional 8 there and an additional 8 up here as well. So we end up with changing this to 0.2 because we knock off 16% more. We end up with 0.4 seconds for each Ghost Shroud, which is crazy. That is literally 5 times as fast as in PoE 1. And again, the defensive layers or the like sustain in PoE 2 is terrible. So this is, I think, pretty powerful. The biggest issue, and I think it's pretty apparent from looking at the tree, is how do you make a character around this? And I think that's why I'm not showcasing a build today, because I just want to talk about this as a layer, and hopefully someone can come with something kind of cool to do with it. I don't know if Titan makes the most sense to like actually try to get these values super low, or if it makes sense to do something like you'd think ideally like something like Invoker would make the most sense, right? Because he has all of this evasion and he has scaling, and he has like all these good evasion and ES nodes right up the start of his tree, which would make a ton of sense. The only thing with that is I think you'd probably not end up using a lot of the staff stuff, because if you scale duration really hard, things like charge staff, like the duration on this is going to get destroyed, the duration on Bell is going to get destroyed, and they'll be up for like a second tops. So it's just going to kind of feel bad to use stuff like that. So you do kind of want to use different skills or include like not have those as part of your setup. Now, the other issue with like besides all this ridiculous amount of travel is there are not a ton of skills that scale off reduced duration. Like we have a classic like Earthquake, which has a 4 second duration, which is still kind of slow. Like if we do this, you get like half a second, but since you want to probably keep your less duration support on your Ghost Dance, it's probably more like this. And if you're doing this on something that's not a Titan, you don't have that increased effect of small passives, you'd end up with that, which that's pretty bad, right? Like that's still not really a usable skill to me. Like 1.4 seconds is just far too long. You're going to get swarmed by mobs and die. This is like maybe fine, but this I do not think it is. So unless you want to move your Ghost Dance or your fast forward off of your Ghost Dance onto this, which I think kind of defeats a lot of the purpose. But anyways, we also have Frost Bomb, which I think is relatively okay. It is awkward to have a cooldown skill as your like primary source of clear, but this 3 seconds gets pretty low. And if you do something like Frost Wall and Frost Bomb on top of it to like fully blow up the Frost Wall, it's actually pretty decent. Since it usually pops the full wall and has a pretty big AoE. The nice thing more so about Earthquake is it does have this giant AoE on the aftershock, so you can make it like mostly hit the screen. So even though it's slow, if you pop the screen when you hit it, that's probably okay. Where something like Frostbomb, you can get bigger, but not that big. Like this is not like this is like a full meter smaller than Earthquake, and you don't have things like Fist of War and all this other stuff to actually scale the AoE really hard. Alternatively, you can also just use grenade stuff. You don't have to scale something with reduced duration as your main skill. It's just, it kind of feels like a waste to not. But you can make the feel of this stuff go better because the fuse on all these is just going to get extremely small and they'll go off like pretty instantaneously as opposed to just sitting there and waiting to pop. It kind of helps offset something like either you're pathing down to something like this or you anoint it, but like if you're cluster bombs and you take the increased fuse duration, like all the reduced duration is going to really help the feel of that. But if you do something like grenade skills, you probably do want a little bit more cooldown, so that's like a whole other thing. So pathing on that's going to be, I feel like, even more complicated than something else. But yeah, that's like the whole issue, right? Is I think this is an incredibly powerful shell, but how to actually use it, I think, makes it really complicated. But I did just want to talk about it because hopefully someone finds something cool because I do think this is a really powerful layer. And if you can make a strong character that uses it, I think you'd like be mostly immortal. If you get your evasion high enough, you get ES high enough, but then it's like actually getting a damaging setup in that, right? But all right, quick video. All right, I'll see you guys. Poops in, butts out.